Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of the Usagi Podjimbo podcast. I'm your host, Mike, as always, and we are a podcast that talks all about Usagi Yojimbo, the comic book series, and we have a good episode for you guys, a good story for you guys. This time, we are wrapping up the story arc from the last couple of episodes. We're looking at Daisho Part Two. If you don't remember what exactly happened in the last couple of episodes, go back and listen. But here's a little refresher, I guess you could say, for you guys. If you don't remember what happened in the last episode, Usagi got his sword stolen by General Fujii. He's on a mission to get him back, and Gen ended up making a new friend in a fellow bounty hunter / rival named Stray Dog. And where we are in that particular section of the story, Stray Dog is getting ready to kill Usagi because he thinks he might be another bounty hunter or something, or a brigand, And Gen has stopped Stray Dog from trying to kill Usagi, and that is where we are in this particular issue. And as always, if you like the podcast, you can leave me feedback on Spotify. You could leave comments on Spotify or leave reviews and stuff like that. Reviews are always welcome. They help the podcast grow. You can also leave me feedback or reviews on Apple Podcasts as well. But let's get into this. Hope you guys enjoy this episode. So the story starts out with Gen and Stray Dog. And Gen tells Stray Dog to put his swords away. I vouch for Usagi. And Stray Dog's like, I won't have any other bounty hunters interfering in my affairs. General Fujii is mine. And I love this scene. It's very, very tense. It very much reminds me of the cover from the Dragon Bellow Conspiracy when Gen fought Zatu Ino. It just reminds me of that, and I love the little touch of Gen's 5 o'clock shadow he's got going on. I really think, I'm a little biased here, but I think Gen would really look good with the beard. Just saying. Stan Sakai, if you're listening, or if anybody wants to do some fan art of Gen with a beard, I think that would be so cool, to be honest. But alas, Gen does not have a beard. He just has a 5 o'clock shadow, but I love that detail. So Gen says, Usagi is no bounty hunter. He claims he is better than the likes of you or me, and put your sword away. And Stray Dog's like, well, I don't know. And this is where Gen gets a little best friendy, I would say. And he's like, what are you doing here anyways, long ears? And because most people don't call him long ears, And Usagi says that, hey, I'm after General Fujii. And Usagi's like, hold on for a second. Let me explain what's going on here to you guys, to get you guys up to speed. And he's like, let me explain. The general stole my swords, and I mean to get them back. I don't care for any reward whatsoever. I just want what is rightfully mine. And Stray Dog's like, yeah, I can live with that, if it happens to be true. And Gen butts in. He's like, of course it's true. He is too much of a goody two-shoes to lie about anything, it's very true, I would say. Usagi very much is that pillar of, goodness within the world, I would say. And Gen happens to say, I know how highly you value your swords. It's a wonder someone managed to actually take them from you. And Usagi's like, yeah, the general is no ordinary person. He had Usagi had to make do with borrowing swords. And Stray Dog pipes up and he's like, so, enough about you. What about this woman right here? And he points to this woman. She's like, my name is Hanako. I grew up in these mountains. I know them very well. And actually, I am Usagi's guide for the moment. And I am repaying my debt for him helping us. Because if you don't remember, Usagi actually helped Hanako's village headman because he was hurt by Fujii or General Fujii's men. I can't remember exactly who exactly it was. And Stray Dog's like, you know where General Fujii's hideout is, do you? And she's like, I heard rumors about it. I know where it is. Well, he says, she'll probably just lead us in circles. And Usagi pipes up and he's like, if you're so concerned about Hanako leading us astray, you can go off on your own. And Stray Dog kind of like scoffs at her, and he's like, I'm with you, I'm gonna stay with you. And Gin jumps in between them, he like puts his hands up between both of them. He's like, okay, settle down, guys, settle down. So we are obviously all going to be working together. Let's all have fun and go kill some people. Is basically what Gin says. Because, as long as Gin gets a reward, Gin doesn't really care, like, what goes on. So he's like, yeah, let's all work together so we can get this reward. And everything's going to be okay. And then Usagi pipes up and he's like, I just want my swords. I don't want a reward. And Gin's like, okay, that's fine. Me and you, Stray Dog, we can split it 50-50. Agreed? And Stray Dog actually does agree. He says, yeah, we will split it 50-50. And Gin happens to pry into Stray Dog's personal life for a minute. He happens to say, one question, though, I have for you. The reward you got last month for Koichi, the bandit, he should have brought like a really big bounty. Why are you hunting again so soon? And Stray Dog says, none of your business. Stay out of it. Stay out of my affairs, he says. We're not partners at all. So don't worry about it. And so they're like, okay, let's go get this over with. And then they go off, and Gin says that money slips through his purse like water through a stive. He's worse than I am. So at least Gin admits it, that he's not really, really good with money. A few hours later, they end up at this temple. It's the Moon Rise Temple is what it's called, and Hanako ends up showing them where to go. And Stray Dog says that, this place looks destroyed. I told you she led us to a false place. And Usagi's like, no, you're actually wrong, Stray Dog. She didn't lead us anywhere. Because look, there's General Fujii down there. When they see them on horseback riding through. And they actually just got done with a supply raid because they have fresh supplies to bring back to their hideout. And I love this scene right here where Gin starts to yawn. He's like, well, it's time to take a nap. And they're like, whoa. Hanako says, you're going to take a nap? Wait, what's going on? We should go after them. And Usagi basically lays the plan out. He's like, no, we're not going to go after them. We're actually going to be taking them off guard is what we're going to do. They were just returned with food and drink. They are bound to celebrate and party. So we're going to basically catch them at their weakest moment. And we're going to catch them after they party and they're all asleep and thrown off guard is what they're going to do. And we get a little argument between Stray Dog and Usagi at this point. And Usagi says, you've done your part in leading us to the bandits' den, Hanako. There will be danger. You basically need to leave, is what he says. And Stray Dogs is like, no, she is not going anywhere. For all we know, she can actually be working with General Fujii. And, after we leave, she could probably go tell General Fujii where we are, and we could get ambushed for some gold. So he's like, no, she stays. And we see Gin catching some Z's and snoring in the background. I'm surprised nobody doesn't hear him snoring, because he's probably snoring really, really loud. Usagi happens to say, "Don't you trust anybody, stray dog?" He's like, "No, that's why I survived so long in my profession. I don't trust anybody." And Hanako says, "Don't worry, it's okay. I don't really want to be in any trouble. I'll stay." And this is where we see Stray Dog. His facial expressions change to like a grin. He's like, "Ha ha, fool," he says. And we see the men who work for General Fujii, the brigands. They're drinking, partying, living it up. One of them's got this big barrel, and he's drinking all this sake and whatnot, and they have to be like, "Oh, another success, General Fujii." And General Fujii's like, "Yes, but ration out the sake and I don't want anyone so drunk they can't be useless to me." He needs his men, not completely drunk. Maybe just a little tipsy, but not like completely drunk. And I kind of really like this scene. It's kind of funny, like the way the guy he's drawn. He looks like I don't want to say like a fat like Mickey Mouse or a fat Goofy, but that's what he kind of looks like. And Fujii points to this one guy, and he's like, aren't you supposed to be on guard duty?" He's like, "Nobody's gonna attack us. We're good." And he like threatens this guard. He was like, "I'll kill you if I find you slacking again in this moment and whatnot. Get out there, get on to guard duty." And the men are starting to seem like they're not trusting General Fujii a lot. And there very much seems to possibly be a mutiny afoot. Do they have mutinies on land, or is that just on sea? Well, basically they start to become very disgruntled. And the main guy who is ahead of all these men, who is like General Fujii's like second in command. I don't remember what his name is off the top of my head, but he's talking to them, and they're like, "Yeah, he's right. We should get more, and we should be able to party and whatnot. We don't really need to listen to General Fujii. We're fed up with what's going on here. Where with all his greed and bullying us. He's taking a lot of their stuff that they get." Like a lot of percentage and whatnot. And they get this one guy who's been working with General Fujii to basically try and go take over General Fujii's position. He barges in there. He's like, "General Fujii, your days of leadership is over." And he challenges him. And this guy doesn't really last that long. With one swipe, he ends up going down. And General Fujii turns to all the men that barge through the door with this guy, and he says, "Is there anyone else who would question my authority? Speak up," he says. And they're like, "No, we don't want to speak up." And they turn so fast. They're like, "General Fujii, yeah!" And we go from that to Usagi and Gin and Stray Dog getting ready for their plan of attack. Like I said, it's nighttime now. Usagi and Gin and Stray Dog and Hanako, well, mostly just the three guys. Usagi says, "Okay, it's a good time to go now." And there's one little detail I really like, which I don't know if I've ever really noticed before, but Usagi starts to take off it's like almost like a sash kind of thing. He starts to wrap it around his back and his arms. And so Gin does the same thing. And so does Stray Dog. They go and they pull up their sleeves for their on their clothes so their arms are free and they don't have the very baggy sleeves. I guess I just never really noticed that. Or maybe that detail wasn't in the other comics. I don't know. Let me know down below in the comments or whatever, or on the Facebook page. Let me know your thoughts, because that's just something that I happen to actually come across and see. But they basically get ready, and they tell Hanako to stay here. We don't want you to get hurt, is what Usagi says. And Usagi basically runs off with Gin and Stray Dog. And he basically tells Hanako, if we're not back in 30 minutes, basically go to the village and like, I guess, get help or just go to the village for safety. They happen to see a guard, and it's just the one guard and them. And it's actually the guard who got kicked out before for drinking on guard duty. And the guard guy, he's like, General Fujii and his stupid guard duty, stuck out here without even a drink to keep me warm. Maybe one of the other guards has a bottle, maybe. And he's like, hey, anybody want to sneak me out some sake? Which I feel like he's yelling at this moment. I don't know if he's like whispering or whatever, because he goes from a thought bubble to like talking, and he hears a noise. This guard does, and he hears another noise. He's like, oh, what's that? I don't know what's going on. He's like, hey, quit fooling around out there, you guys. The general will have our heads if you have left your posts. And he kind of turns around, and Usagi jumps out of nowhere, taking this guy out. And we get this really badass scene where they're all ready to go. Like Usagi, Gin, and Stray Dog are just like, yeah, come on, let's do this. Like they are pumped and ready to go. And we see this scene after that where General Fujii is in this very shadowy, misty place, and all he hears is Fujii, Fujii, Fujii. And Fujii says, address me by my proper title, General Fujii. We start to hear yelling, and General Fujii's like, who are you? Where are you? You know, and you hear Fujii, and he sees like a door. He's like, who are you? And we hear some laughter, more laughter. And he's like, show yourself. And he slices through this door. And we just see a really creepy looking Usagi. And General Fujii wakes up, and he actually was just having a dream. And then General Fujii, he wakes up, and one of his men shows up. And he's like, General Fujii, are you okay? I heard you yell. And he's like, of course I'm okay. I'm all right, you idiot. I just got a spasm in my back from sleeping against this post. Next time we go to raid, we're going to raid us some beds. Because I guess that's one thing that you don't raid for. You just don't even think about when you have a hideout. Maybe I want some beds. Who knows? And he looks at these two swords, which I'm guessing they're Usagi swords. And he's like, I have your swords, Usagi. I've beaten you. And he tells the guard that he's going to go get some fresh air, General Fujii says. And he's to keep an eye on the others and limit their drink. And he's like, yes, sir, General. As he is doing this, we see him leave, and Usagi, Gin, and Stray Dog are actually behind the same building that Fujii is leaving from. So, obviously, they're planning their attack. And then we see all the men partying, they're laughing, they're just going, that one guy who was standing up to General Fujii, he obviously was a fool. And you're like, yeah, he sure was a fool, And we get this cool scene where Stray Dog breaks through the wood. They rise up and they're like, oh, what's going on? With the shocked look on their face, the guards do. Then Gin breaks through the wood. And then they're like, oh, no, we got to get him. It's a raid. Then Usagi opens the door and he's like, where's Fujii? And they basically, all three of them, take on like 10 to 20 guys at once, taking all of them out. And, Usagi yelling at Fujii, you're a coward, to show yourself. And Usagi basically goes for this one guy. He cuts him. He slashes him, opens the door. He gets jumped by the big guy who was helping General Fujii out. And he's like, you again. You've been a thorn in General Fujii's side for too long. And he picks him up and puts him in a bear hug, which I feel like is appropriate because he is a bear. So good on him for using his natural techniques of bear hugs. And he's like, I'll break your back. And we see in the background, Stray Dog is fighting some other people. He looks over, and we see Stray Dog running away. Doesn't even go off to help Usagi. He's like, hey, the big bear guy. He's like, I hear your bones in your back cracking, Ronin. And we see as Stray Dog is running away, he's like, too bad it's every mongrel for themselves, huh, Ronin? And Usagi basically does what Usagi does best. he headbutts the bear in the face, and he goes to kill him, and the bear actually ends up falling on top of Usagi, which, after those actions, Gin comes out, and he's like, Usagi, quit clowning around. He's like, help me out here, Gin, this big guy's on top of me. And he's like, looks like I'm bailing you out of trouble again, aren't I, Usagi? And he's like, did you find Fujii? Usagi says, and he's like, no, I just hope he hasn't run off, He won't, and Usagi says he won't get away. And Usagi runs off, and he actually sees Fujii. And Fujii says, Usagi, I should have known it was you. I'm tired of looking over my shoulder for you. Let's end this now. And Usagi walks up to him with the baddest ass-looking walk I think I've ever seen. Because when Usagi means business, he just looks so cool doing it. Like, almost like a John Wick-esque, I would say. Like, when Usagi gets serious, people are going to die. But that's what I take away from it, to be exact, But, and we hear General Fujii, he draws his sword. He's like, General Fujii, he says, because Usagi just calls him Fujii. He's like, Fujii, give me my sword. And he's like, General Fujii to you. I'll teach you to show me some respect. And Usagi picks up on this, that he hates just being called Fujii. He wants to be called General Fujii. And he gets like the smirk on his face, and he just says, Fujii, which throws him off guard, throwing him into a rage. And they actually go into the very awesome samurai. Both of them slash at the same time. One must die type of move. I don't know what you would call it. Running duel. I don't know what you would call that. Which Fujii happens to get Usagi in the arm, and Fujii says, "I've tolerated your insolence for too long. You long-eared scum," he says, and get down on your knees and beg for mercy, and maybe I'll give you a swift death, Fujii says. And when Usagi, he says, when my end comes, I'll meet it on my feet, Fujii. And Fuji's like, it's General Fujii, Ronin scum. I demand respect. I demand what? No. And it just so happens General Fujii got cut right above his torso, in the middle between his torso and his chest, which he is done for the count. And Usagi is holding his arm because he has been wounded. And Usagi says, I just want what is mine, Fujii. That's all he wants. He wants his sword. And Gin happens to show up because Usagi ends up doing all the work when Gin is around. And Gin says, there you are. I see you got the general and your swords. The rest of the guards either ran off or they're dead. And Usagi says, what about Stray Dog? And Stray Dog's like, I am right here. And they're shocked. And Stray Dog just so happens to be holding Hanako. And he's like, I'm claiming Fujii's reward for myself. All I need is evidence of his head. His death in his head is what he says. And they're like, what's the deal? What's going on? We had a deal, Gin says. And Usagi stops Gin. He's like, hold on, let's hear Stray Dog out. And Stray Dog's like, ha 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 ha. I've told you I'm a mongrel. Genosuke. And he's like, I'm a mongrel. Genosuke, and a mongrel only looks out for himself. Which, that's very true, I would say. Because, I guess for the most part, Genosuke does the same thing that Stray Dog does. So, he can't really be too mad, can he? And Hanako happens to be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I tried, but he caught me. And not Genosuke, Stray Dog says, step away from the general. He's mine. And Usagi's like, you can take him. I don't want him. Just don't hurt Hanako, and we can all go our merry separate ways. And Gen's like hell we are. I want that money, you know? Usagi happens to say, like, you have my word, and Stray Dog's like, what is your word of honor worth, Ronin? And Usagi says, it's all I have. And he's like, okay, she's yours. He pushes Hanako to Usagi, and he's like, now, move on, give me the head. And a short time later, so I'm guessing there might have been some sort of standoff after Hanako, he had pushed Hanako, maybe? I'm guessing. But Stray Dog ends up calling them all suckers and walks off with the head. And Gen is really mad at this point, and he's like, you don't mean that, he double-crossed us because Usagi told Gen to stop, he doesn't, honor his word, his agreement, why should we honor ours? And Usagi's like, I gave him my word. And Gen's like, raises his arms in the air, shouting. He's like, oh, you infuriate me. He cheated me, Genosuke. I am the one who cheats people, not me being the one who gets cheated on. And he's like, then maybe you should go after him if honor means so much to you, Usagi says. And which leads Usagi and Gen to basically get into a really big argument and disagreements, like normal. And we actually see that, Gen says the sun is coming up. We'd better start heading back. And Hanako says, oh, Usagi-san, you're actually hurt. You're like, oh, it's nothing. It's just a little scratch. And Usagi says, well, there's still the bounty on the bandits we could split. And Gen's like, what? You said you didn't want any reward. And Usagi's like, I wanted no part in Fujii's bounty. That was a matter of principle. His men, however, are different. And Gen sighs, and he says, I guess you did work hard enough for it. Okay, I'll be willing to settle for just half the reward then. And Usagi says, a third. Don't you forget that Hanako, without her guidance, we would have not found their hideout. And Gen's like, what? No, we're not we're splitting it. I guess they end up splitting it, but who knows. A couple weeks later, actually, we see Stray Dog in a village, and he happens to say, hello, I'm back. He opens this door, and we see all these little kids running out. And we hear someone in the back. She has some tea, and she's like, Inuki, I believe is the Inuki, I think his name is, which I think that's the name of Stray Dog, actually. He's like, it's good to see you again. And they all jump on him, and all these kids are like, oh, good morning, how are you doing? Whatnot. We missed you. And he asks, how's everything been? Stray Dog says. And the woman, who we happen to find out this is actually an orphanage, she says that things aren't really good, to be honest. The roof needs repairs. Many of the children have colds and will need to send for a doctor. And Stray Dog tosses her the bag of coin he got for General Fujii's head. And he's like, here, this should cover everything on the orphanage, And they're like, oh, man, what would we do to survive anyways, without your help? And they kind of just laugh it off, and they're celebrating that, they have a place to call home, and which is really interesting to see because, there was definitely more the Stray Dog, and you could say, he was in it for his own gain. Well, the gain of helping the orphanage, so he's not technically like a mongrel like he says he is. But that's actually the end of this particular issue, and I just have to say, man, this story was a lot of fun to read. It went to places I really didn't think it would actually go, like seeing another side to bounty hunting, because all we really saw before was Gen and his money grubbing self. And Stray Dog, this is odd to say, but Stray Dog reminds me of King from the Tekken video game. If you remember in like Tekken 1, he was going to fight in the Iron Fist tournament for a group of orphans, basically. And in this, Stray Dog is taking on bounties for orphans. So I feel like there's very much parallel to what they have and whatnot. But this was really interesting to see, like, the depths of what Usagi would go through as well to basically get his, quote, soul back, because the soul is basically the sword of the samurai. But yeah, I really thought this story wrapped up nicely. There were a lot of different twists and turns that I really truly wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting to see Gin back at all for quite a while, because in the last couple of towards the beginning of this volume, like, Gin was in it quite a bit, but he left for a while and he came back. It was good to see a different side to Gin as well, and he's not such a scoundrel as we think he is. But yeah, this was definitely a lot of fun, and we will be moving on halfway through the Mirage run now, which we will be covering next episode on the podcast. We will be talking about Runaways. Runaways Part 1, I believe it was what it's called. But yeah, we'll be talking about Runaways next time. And this issue threw me for a loop, and I wasn't expecting the orphans at the end. I really wasn't. That caught me off guard and whatnot. Because towards the end of this issue, Stray Dog really started to turn in my eyes. I really started to wonder if he was actually a really good guy, But, turns out he actually is a pretty good guy. He's doing it all for the children. And like I said, we'll be talking about Runaways next time, 2-part story, and we'll go from there. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the podcast. I know a little scatterbrained at the end of this, but, it is what it is, Thanks for listening, like I said, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Stay safe, and make sure to go read some Usagi Yojimbo.